Now he's dead. What? Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering why I'm so angry. I suck at League of Legends. I started about a month ago and I can't seem to improve no matter what I do. I tried asking friends, watched a bunch of guides. I pretty much did everything I could think of to learn the game, except for paying money. Introducing Skillcapped. If you've searched online for any guides, there's a good chance you've seen them, and it turns out they have an additional subscription service with resources to help you improve. They offer a rank up guarantee of 8 divisions in 5 months if you're in Iron, but that's way too long of a time frame, so let's shrink that down. 7 days to get out of Iron. Rules are pretty simple. Skillcapped has to be the main resource for improvement, which means I can learn from other sources like YouTube, but I pretty much only have to stick to Skillcapped. The next rule is that I can't get any help from friends. But with the rules established, I knew this goal would actually be pretty hard to reach. I don't have my rank yet, and if I get placed in Iron 4, that means I would need to go up 4 divisions in a week, which is essentially what Skillcapped says it can help you do in 2 months. So I need to find a way to squeeze in 2 months of knowledge and practice into 1 week. I need a strategy. After each game, I would watch 1 video until I eventually completed every single course in the recommended section. And to make sure I learned everything from scratch, I wanted to learn a completely new champion, Victor. Skillcapped had a course specifically on him, and honestly from the way they presented everything, it sounded really simple. All I had to do was preserve my health until level 3, while using my Q and E to poke at the enemy until I could begin to look for all-ins. In my first game as Victor, I decided to focus on one thing: punishing people when they decide to go for last hits. All I had to do was wait until the enemy opponent walked up to a minion to take the last hit, and then punish them for it by either using my auto attacks or abilities. And when I decided to put that same game plan to use, I began to get a little confused. She was hitting me just as much as I was hitting her. And what started out as a slight confusion slowly turned into frustration. I was repeatedly punished and I didn't know what to do. So I continued to carry out the exact same plan with the exact same thing happening every time. What the fuck? Then I realized something. My dumbass was so focused on punishing last hits that I forgot to do everything else. Last hitting? Completely fucked. Dodging abilities? I stood there like a refrigerator. At the time I had really bad Wi-Fi issues, so instead of blaming myself, I decided to blame that instead. Bro. I was lagging there! Then came the downward spiral of doom. The more I tried to make up for my losses, the more impatient I got. And the more impatient I got, the more I continued to do things that didn't make any fucking sense. I ended up super behind in terms of levels and gold, leaving me unable to do anything for the rest of the game. But it wasn't just the matchups, big teamfights near the objectives, the mid and late game. There were so many questions, it made me realize that my initial strategy might not work. So I needed to change my approach. The new plan was to literally watch as many courses as possible, study the game like it's for a midterm, and hopefully find something I could implement in my games. So I started watching a bunch of courses, and after 2 hours of studying, I had finished about 5 of these. I felt ready after, and I decided to hop into my next game. This time it was against the Nazir, and it went way better than the first time. This time I was able to dodge abilities slightly better, and with each trade I was gaining confidence, which eventually led to a health advantage. And I got so confident, in fact, I decided to go for something stupid. Hello! Things were going really well, but I was missing a very important part of the equation here. The fucking jungler. After that happened, I was slightly unhappy. But the next time I would be ready. Once again, I start gaining a lead. And this time, I see the Vi coming from a mile away. And thinking I had enough time to move away, I started to relax. Because there was no way the Vi would be able to catch up to me. And then, this emo motherfucker started channeling an ability. This time, I'm really pissed and I start blaming my jungler. I wanna fucking... Dude, this Cho'Gath is useless, bro. This Cho'Gath is useless. I was honestly at a loss for what to do because every time I seemed to spot the Vi, I was not able to move away in time. So once again, I decided to look at another course that Skillcapped provided. At the time, I couldn't find a course about preventing ganks. The closest thing I could find was the warding course. There was honestly so much information, I knew it was impossible to instantly implement in my games. For example, they expected me to track the jungler, ward raptors at 120, and then adjust my warding at 245 based on clear paths. Bro, I am still struggling to last hit. Realistically, all of that stuff would take like a month to implement. Yeah, this challenge already seems like a bad choice. So the only thing I took from that without confusing myself too much was to ward in the direction where my jungler was heading. I instantly forgot to do that. Here's the thing. Last hitting is such a new concept to me that it takes up like 80% of my brain power. And I ended up playing against Akali in this next game, which was the first assassin I had played against. It was weird because I understood how the matchup went, but there were so many missing gaps in my knowledge. I spent a lot of time trying to keep a mental note of what abilities to avoid, and that just made me forget about everything else. Of course, I started losing lane really bad, which led to this Akali crib stomping me so hard I decided to log off for the day. It's day 2 and I'm confused. Like, really confused. They started rambling on about how to play against the DPS versus a burst mage. I don't know who classifies as a DPS or a burst mage. And then, as if I didn't have enough trouble absorbing the information, they start talking about the jungle matchup. How the fuck am I supposed to learn all of this in 7 days? But regardless, I tried my best and went into ranked. I don't know why, but the enemy team decided to forfeit, and I got my rank of Iron 3. I don't know how I wasn't placed in Iron 4, but I'm not complaining. And now it was time to start decline. First game was pretty bad. I was auto-filled into bot lane, which I had no clue how to play. I also didn't perform exactly well, but we somehow won. Iron 2. Yo, I might be able to get bronze today. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? The next game, I was simply just trying to follow what the course was telling me to do. Zone the enemy off and slow push the wave so you can get a level advantage, which worked, but I kept getting ganked, and I got frustrated enough to surrender. Okay, maybe next game I'll have better luck. This time, I initiated the same plan. I even learned from my last game, remembering to ward so I could prevent a gank. But this time, there was another problem. I kept running into abilities. I don't know what is wrong with me, but even when I was not inside the ability range, I would run into it. And that eventually led to me making more stupid decisions, eventually leading me going 0 for 10. Straight back to... At this point, I'm going a little crazy. But being the cool, calm, collected person I am, I decided to take a break and watch a few more courses. While looking at a few more courses, I realized a lot of information was being repeated. It also wasn't that helpful because it was just really general, so I was kind of looking for something different. That was when I discovered they had Smurf commentaries. I thought it would be a good chance to learn about the decision making of some challenger players, so I took a look at a couple of games. But there was just one problem.
Can I roll the bot lane? You don't really have that great setup in bot.
It was so damn boring, I fucking fell asleep midway. When I woke up, I decided to go into my third game. The enemy opponent was a Malzahar, and trying to learn from my previous mistakes, I decided to search up the general matchup, and when I saw that Victor wins most of the time, and that the only thing I needed to do was save my E for his minions, I felt slightly relieved. But what I did not know was that Malzahar is a character that doesn't need to last it because his little fucking minions will do it for him. So what ended up happening was that his wave started pushing up to me, which ended up him leveling up faster than me, and then he unlocked his ultimate. How the fuck are you supposed to play against a fucking CC son while he shoots a beam of death at you for 2.5 seconds? Anyways, still being fueled by the slight chance of reaching bronze, I decided to keep playing. This time, I'm autofilled into bot lane. Again. And still being furious, I am unable to function. The only thing I was able to focus on is how miserable my life is. And combine that with the fact that I don't know her Q goes through minions and deletes half my health, I once again end up going 0 for 8. And then, the next game, Victor gets banned! He gets banned so I can't even play the game. It's honestly like the universe wants to tell me to stop playing the game. So I pick Vex, and immediately the curse is broken. I went 2 back-to-back games. That was when I started to get really confused. You're telling me I watched an entire course on Victor? I watched like 3 Smurf commentaries just to perform better on a champion I barely played? But to be fair, I did some research and apparently Victor is pretty hard to play. So instead of sticking to Victor, I decided to start playing Vex. I loaded up the game on day 3 and this is the first thing I saw. What? What? What have I done? I have not done anything. I don't even have chat turned on. This was the first time I got a warning, which was odd considering I don't have chat turned on, I don't type, I don't ping, I just exist. The only crime I can think of is unintentionally throwing the game. But whatever, I queued up for ranked anyway. I had been playing Victor, but this time I locked in Vex. Same playstyle, right? Wrong. I had watched a bunch of videos on Vex before I went into ranked games, and the Smurf commentaries were really confusing. The challenger player was pretty much hitting every single one of his skill shots. Meanwhile, I was quite literally missing everything. It was awkward, painful even, but slowly, through a series of incredibly bad decisions, I started to figure out what not to do, which meant a lot of dying and a lot of losing. At one point, I got curious. It was way too difficult to just be an iron lobby. So, I checked my match history. What the fuck is this? My lobbies were full of silver players. That's when it hit me. Maybe there are no iron players. Maybe that's why I ranked up to iron 2 so fast. And if that's true, then I can straight up just give up because there is no way I will be able to rank up. On day 4, I woke up to something painfully familiar. Another warning. I just woke up and this is what I see. Again, I don't even have chat turned on. At this point, I was pretty sure people were reporting me purely because I had played badly, but I tried to stay hopeful. I kept grinding, religiously implementing everything I learned from Skillcapped. And in my first ranked game, I had played against a Zed. I had watched multiple videos on how to play against melee matchups, so when I queued into Zed, I had a game plan. Poke him out early before he unlocked his full kit. But as I continued to play, I seemed to be unable to win even when I followed the course. And then it happened again. No! And again. Ow! How? And again. What? What? At this point, something started to feel off. I'd been playing for 4 days straight, studying the game harder than I ever studied for school. And despite all that, I was stuck in the exact same rank. Back to higher 3! That was when it hit me. Maybe knowledge wasn't the problem. Maybe I was missing something way more fundamental. Mechanics. The missing piece. I immediately dove back into Skillcapped, desperately searching for drills, practice routines, anything to help me improve my mechanics. But there was nothing. Then I realized something about those Smurf commentaries I had been binging. The way it works is that they throw a challenger player into low elo so we can see what decisions they make. But because their mechanics are so much better, Every single game ends up playing out the same way. It's the same scenario, it's the same snowball, it's the same script every single game. And because all the games play out the same way, I wasn't able to learn what to do when I'm behind or what fights I could take. Maybe this wasn't the right choice. Maybe I'd wasted $19. And all I could do was sit there, waiting for a miracle. Somewhere in my endless skill-capped binge, I stumbled upon a tip for last hitting. The tip was to right-click the minion to check how much damage your auto-attack does, and then compare it to the minion's HP by looking at the top left corner of your screen. Genius, right? Finally, a piece of advice that actually seemed useful. So I loaded up the game to test it out, and immediately, I realized this tip was absolute dog shit. Skillcapped expects me to look at the top left corner of my screen to check a minion's HP, while simultaneously dodging skill shots, tracking the enemy jungler, and positioning for trades. Like what? Who has time for that? At this point, I was starting to notice a little bit of a pattern. I always started strong, gaining a lead early, but without fail, at some point, I would throw. No way! No way! I forgot to press my E. I thought my Q was enough to kill. And like always, I got angry. I needed a scapegoat. When I played mid, I blamed the jungler. Bro, are you blind? When I played bot, I blamed my support. And my support is always leaving me, bro. I pretty much blamed everyone except for myself. Until the universe decided to humble me. The next game, I got built into bot lane. My support was a Senna, and it took less than 5 minutes for her to die twice. Fine, annoying, but whatever. But as the game progressed, this Senna just had a tendency to run it down like she was God. And I was starting to get pissed. Senna's just giganting, bro. How's the Senna worse than me? But finally, a chance. Both enemy laners were low. This was it. The turnaround. And then, Senna, once again thinking she's fucking God, runs in, dies instantly. She then does this. What the fuck? Why do you ping me? And she disappears. She went mid lane. The Senna had the audacity, the gall, the nuts to move to mid lane like it was my fault she died all those times. Bitch. Fuck you, bitch. I'm reporting you, hoe. Fucking dumbass bitch. Fucking pinging me when it's your own fucking fault. Motherfucker, bro. Now, I was left in a 1v2, getting completely starved out of farm. And after a miserable laning phase, we got stomped. And then, I got bot lane again, and again. Bro, why did I get bottom again? Why did I get bottom again? I'm not supposed to get bottom again. 3 games in a row. At this point, I'm playing more ADC than I am playing mid. I kept inting, getting shoved around and not knowing what to do. I tried everything. Breakpoints, farming empty lanes, taking jungle camps. Nothing worked. I was never able to make up the gap between me and my opponents. I couldn't recover the level disadvantage. And even if I did, I couldn't do anything meaningful with it. I felt like a complete failure. And for my final game of the day, the gods finally threw me a bone. I got mid. And somehow, by some miracle, things were going well. I was landing my abilities, out-trading the Silas, keeping him away from farming. For the first time, I was winning lane. This was it. My first positive ranked experience. And then, this happened. No way, man! Dude, It was on day 5 when I discovered a video on patience. The idea was simple. As long as your opponent is low and under tower, they will either lose gold or die for it. It was the first real sign I needed to slow things down. Up until now, I had rushed everything. CSing, skill shots, trading. I was just trying to keep up with my opponents. But that always led to missed farm, whiffed abilities, and lost fights. So I made it my one goal. Don't get impatient. And by following my own pace, it felt like I was actually playing properly. Sure, the Cogmaw I was laning against was solo, but for once, I was doing well, and that was all that mattered. This was my first game where I had more kills than deaths. If you've watched my previous video, you would know how much suffering I had gone through. I had learned not to get my hopes up because in this game, it never really gets better. The next game, I played against a Veigar, and it started off great. I was out trading him, out farming him, hitting every ability. This Veigar was so ass, I could have played with my toes and still won. If I tied one hand behind my back and played with a drawing tablet, I'd probably still be up in CS. Honestly, I could have been AFK for half the game, come back, and he'd still be down in farm and levels. He was the worst player I had ever laned against. So, naturally, I got overconfident. I guess that's what made it feel terrible when I actually started to lose. He landed a few lucky shots, putting me at a health disadvantage. But knowing I was still ahead in levels and that he was running out of mana, I decided to keep playing aggressive. And then he does this. What the fuck was that? This guy flashed for no reason. I don't know if this was a good play or not, but from my perspective, it looked so stupid I immediately started tilting. Am I actually worse than this Veigar? Am I actually worse than him? Because if I am, then fuck me. After that game, I was genuinely so mentally worn out, I didn't want to play anymore. I remember when I first opened Skillcapped, I saw a whole section on psychology. I thought it was completely stupid. But now, I kind of understand why they put it there. So I decided to give it a chance, just to see if there was something actually useful for improving my mental. I clicked on the video titled, How to Avoid Tilt. And within the first few minutes, they started talking about the fucking amygdala. Bro, I'm trying to learn how to stop getting mad at a video game, not get a neuroscience lecture on the parts of the brain responsible for stress and anxiety. Did they seriously think I'd be one step closer to mental stability by learning about the brain activation? And then they moved on to giving actual tips, if you can even call them that. This is exactly what I would expect a middle schooler to cook up if you asked them to make a presentation on how to prevent stress. Now keep in mind, I paid $19 for this course. $19. I paid $19 for this course! At this point, I had watched everything in the recommended section. I had pretty much given up on getting out of iron. I didn't even care about winning anymore. All I wanted to do was not die to anything stupid and go 1 for 20. I played through my last day with zero expectations. And because of that, I was actually able to reflect on what I had learned. Even though my rank hadn't changed, I started to understand matchups better. I was beginning to win lane. And even though I still didn't have the brain capacity to ward properly, I was beginning to read my opponent's body language to predict ganks. And I only just figured out that my E applies a mark to minions, which lets me stack my passive faster. And most importantly, I was finally patient. After learning my lesson against that Veigar, I didn't rush my kills. I still missed blast hits, sure, but this time I was actually ahead. Then, Irelia unlocked all her abilities. I should have been prepared for that! No! I had heard about power spikes on Skillcapped, but I was feeling so good about myself that I completely forgot assassins spike hard once they get their full kit. And just like that, my lead disappeared. We still won the game though, Not because of me, I barely did anything. For the next 3 games, I got filled into bot lane again. I'm so pissed at this point, I actually can't believe it. I'm playing more bot lane than I am mid at this point. But finally, I got put back in mid. At this time, everything followed the same pattern. I got a lead in lane, but this time, I held onto it. I even tried my first roam. Bro, like, how the fuck did we lose that? It didn't go very well, but I was still ahead, so I could just try again. I told you to fucking help me! I even pinged you! But then, I just took a series of really bad fights, and then I was behind again. Mistake, that was a mistake. Yo, I thought we were going for it. What? After spending quite a bit of time farming empty lanes, I managed to close the gap, but then this happened. Now he's dead. What? What? What is this Yone doing? At first, I thought this guy was a pussy, but no. His ability literally forces him to return to a previous position after a few seconds. This was also the first lesson on synergy. That made me realize how important it was to learn every single ability. I don't even think I have a third of the cast memorized yet. Fuck. So after 7 days, I'm still in Iron 3. I pretty much made 0 progress in terms of ranked, but I definitely know what I have to work on. Pretty much just learn what all the characters do and get better mechanics. Anyways, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.